Hey Patreon viewers, how you doing? This is hopefully a relatively simple and small video, but it's really to say that something I've noticed in recent years is I have become so specialised in certain types of sword use that it's ruined me for others. So it used to be that years ago I could kind of change between weapons and do lots of kind of stuff and adapt fairly easily, and be kind of okay. However, because I've become so specialised in sabre and probably actually, I guess, what do I mostly do apart from sabre these days? Probably mostly small sword and rapier. But anyway, because I've focused on certain weapons, I do very little longsword sparring at least anymore. I still teach longsword regularly, but I don't spar very much longsword. And I don't do very much sword and buckler and stuff like that either, but it's kind of ruined me. And how has it ruined me? Well, quite simply, there are certain types of sword, I've spoken about this before, tulwars are one example, any type of basket hilt is another example, and this is an Indian one, but it doesn't have to be an Indian one. It could be a Highland basket hilt, you know, British, English basket hilt, and they confine your hand in such a way. So this one confines your hand by virtue of the fact that it's got a pulwar type domed pommel. Obviously the tulwar does the same with a flat disc pommel, but European basket hilts do the same thing by, well, not all of them, but lots of them have sidebars which come up the side and connect to the sides of the pommel. Now what this means is your hand's kind of jammed in there, and you can't kind of angle the hand very much. And when you cut, there remains an angle between the sword blade and the wrist. Now what this means is, just to contrast that for a second with how I hold a sabre. So when I hold a sabre, I stick my thumb up the back pretty much most of the time. The only time I switch to something what I would call a handshake grip is if my hand's getting particularly tired, and my thumb's got hit or something like that. But generally speaking, trying to avoid my light fitting, generally speaking I put the thumb up the back, which means I can extend the blade out. Now I've got quite used to having that degree of reach, okay, because if you think about it, if you can extend a sword out either by having the finger over the guard or having the thumb up the back, both achieve a similar thing actually, it means you can reach further, because you can reach as far away from your hand as you as the length of the blade is, okay, because the blade is coming out fully out to there in line with your forearm, which a lot of people will go, it's to use the point and it's to make more effective use of the point and thrusting and such like, and yes, that's not untrue, but equally when cutting it means you can reach further, okay. For those of you who are longsworders watching this, kind of like a scheitelhau, okay, if you think about a longsword cut, then if you cut with an angle between here and the blade, indeed it might be a more effective cut in general, but if you want to reach further, you lift the hands up to shoulder height, or even higher in some cases, and sort of almost like fly fishing, cast the point out, okay, and that actually gives you longer reach, although it's a less effective cut. Though if you're hitting someone in the head, taking away some of the power to add to the actual ability to hit them when you may not have hit them otherwise, it's a trade-off. But with basket hilts, or indeed with tulwar hilts, you often can't do that because you just can't fit. I mean, you can see I'm having to almost let go of the sword in order to get the blade to go straight in line with my forearm. But if I hold the sword properly, there's always going to be an angle here which reduces my reach. But not only that, in trying to reach further and go like this, what I tend to do now is I tend to overextend the elbow and knacker my elbow, to use British colloquialism. So essentially I overextend the arm. And it means that my reach is rubbish with a confined, any kind of basket hilt that goes to ceiling, or a tulwar. You shorten the reach. Indeed, you probably make a more effective cut in general, but your reach is greatly reduced. And the problem is I'm so used to having the maximum reach of my weapon that I still try and move my arm in this way, and I have to remember, okay, I have to get much closer, and it changes everything because it means you need to cut with slightly different body mechanics. You use more of your arm and your twisting, and you're using more of your body, more of your footwork. But you also need to get closer as well. So it actually changes a hell of a lot, not just your body mechanics, but your sense of timing and distance as well. So really just to say that, I'd welcome your thoughts underneath. If any of you do basket hilt or backsword styles. Do you find this issue with backswords and broadswords? If any of you do Tolwa, for example, I'd be interested to hear that as well. And it's as just to reiterate, I didn't used to have an issue with this when I used to practice with a wider variety of swords and not specialise so much. But since I've been specialising sabre, I've become more and more casting the blade out and extending the arm. And now, if I pick up a broadsword, which fundamentally, or a backsword, fundamentally is a similar-ish weapon on paper, but you actually have to use it in quite a different way. Anyway, I hope that's kind of interesting. As I say, I'd welcome your observations and comments underneath. And I need to actually start practicing a little bit more with confined hilts and program my body into being able to switch between those two kind of things, because I like to be able to be relatively adept at using different types of swords as much as possible. Anyway, cheers for watching, and I hope you're all doing well, and I will see you for the next video on here or for the next video on the public channel. Cheers, folks. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. We've got extra videos on Patreon, t-shirts on Spreadshirt, and I hope to see you for the next video.